Hello there, and welcome. Well, it's Monday. Time to talk about teaching. I want to tell you about teaching that I learned, something about teaching that I learned from a teacher I had in my adult life. When I was working at Goddard, I was helping and for part of the time drama sponsor, and in that process I ended up meeting Lynn Werner. Now, Lynn was one of the most gifted musicians I've ever worked with or known. She had the most beautiful and austere touch as a pianist. And when she played things, when she took it upon herself to learn a piece and play it for others, it was quite remarkable. It was beautiful. But Lynn also knew voice, and she taught voice. And we met when she was teaching chorus at Goddard High and I was teaching English. And she wanted to put on a musical, and I was happy to help her. And she picked Little Shop of Horrors, which is, I think, one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life, is putting on Little Shop of Horrors with Lynn Werner. Anyway, whenever kids weren't there for rehearsals, because sometimes kids missed rehearsals, I would do their part so we could go ahead and have rehearsal with the rest of the kids. And there was a lot of singing in the show, so I ended up singing every song in the show at one point or another. And after we did the show, Lynn said, you really should take voice lessons. And she took me on. She taught me voice. And under her training, I learned arias and lieder, and I did vocal recitals. I'm sorry about the I've gotten back into going so I'm going to try to stop that now. Anyway, Lynn was this wonderful teacher, but she was teaching something that not everybody can teach, and it can be difficult to teach because music is both an intellectual process and an artistic process. And when you're a singer, your instrument is your body. Now, I had high school training in the piano a little bit, and the clarinet, and percussion instruments. I'd had some training in those. So I had some small modicum of experience with music. But Lynn was a classically trained musician, and and as I said, really good. She was talented. Anyway, teaching someone how to sing is partly an exploration of psychology and partly an exploration of physicalness. And I've always struggled with the physical. My satisfaction is much more with the intellectual or even the emotional, but the physical, ooh. So one of the things that Lynn used to say to me about learning something was, everything that works the same way. Now, what she meant by that, I believe, was that when you're learning something, whether it's something partly intellectual and partly physical, like learning to sing, or something entirely intellectual, like solving problems in calculus, that the process of learning this skill follows a sort of pattern. And the way she described it was in a circle, but I'm going to describe it slightly differently, the way I understood it. When you first start learning something, the initial learning is quick, and you pick up a lot really fast. That's natural. So when you start learning to play an instrument, or you start learning to do arithmetic, you pick up skills very quickly, and then something happens. You hit a plateau. You hit a moment where you're no longer acquiring as quickly, and it becomes more frustrating. Now, if Flynn is right about this, and I think she may be, this plateau period is really, these plateaus are partly the tests of whether or not someone's going to advance past a certain level. So You gain knowledge, it's fun, it's encouraging, you're getting information, and then suddenly it feels like you're just slogging your way through deep mud. And you don't feel like you're advancing, you don't feel like you're doing better. It's very frustrating. And that is the period when people stop studying. That's the period when they're likely to quit because it gets icky. It gets difficult. But if they stay on the path and continue to fight, they're going to reach another upswing. It's going to happen. And the more they get through those plateaus, those times when they're not advancing at the same rate, the more of those they go through, the more brief they become, and the more they become able to shoulder their way through it. And then they become masters at whatever they're studying. You can really struggle with something, and then you have this enlightening moment, and it's so glorious that you go on in that. I think teachers should every once in a while remind themselves that students will go through that. And they need to be encouraged to stay in there and to understand that what they're undergoing is more a test of persistence than it is a test of intellect. Most great thinkers and writers and artists, what changed is it's not just the talent that made them what they were. It's also the way they ground away at the problem until they reached another level of enlightenment in that problem. And this staying with it, this persistence, what some people might call grit, this is what makes masters in the world. These people that grind away and study and learn and will not let themselves be dissuaded from getting better, these people become the giants in their fields. And I think it's encouraging to know that that's the case because it lets students make a more informed decision when they're trying to decide whether they're going to further pursue something. The first time you hit that plateau as a musician, that's when most musicians quit. The first time you hit that plateau as a linguist, that's when most linguists kind of back off the art form. So don't let students think that they can't work their way through it. They can, and if they persist in it, they will. But there's another element to it. If the reward at the end of the struggle does not entice them in any way, then the reality is you have to let them stop. It's wonderful for students to become great musicians. That's a wonderful thing. But if it doesn't entice them, you can't make them. They'll stay at their plateau level and they won't push past it because it doesn't entice them. We can't all be Einstein. We only really needed the one. We all need to be true to who we are and to persist toward the things that really entice us forward. We need to persist, and that persistence will pay off. But it's also not a shame if you decide not to persist. But you should make that decision consciously. Don't make it out of a moment of frustration. Accept that you have limited time and limited resources sometimes, and pursue the thing that most entices you, because that's the one where you're going to go through those plateaus and you're going to persist. That's it for today. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I hope you see me again. You gorgeous people.